Salamualaykum guys, this is Mr. Middlepath, and the sun is kind of in my eyes, but I think I can still make this video. So the question is about wet dreams. Are they good? Are they bad? How do you get them? How do you not get them? This is a frequent question that comes up a lot, but mainly it's people think that they're bad and how do they stop getting them. And I made this video to say that no, they're not bad and that they're normal. And you have to think about it. I mean, if someone is masturbating and watching pornography, or someone is having sex, they're relieving their sexual desires. In absence of that, how else are you going to relieve that sexual desire? There has to be some way. So for people who aren't having sex and aren't masturbating, the body is going to have to relieve that tension and that desire through wet dreams. So it's completely normal to have them, and it's actually hurtful, harmful for you if you stop having them. So you have to understand, all of that energy, where is it going to go? All of that tension, where is it going to go? Can you stop having desires? No, you can't. So if you're not relieving your desires through what's the word I'm looking for, through voluntary means, right, then it's going to relieve those desires are going to relieve themselves through involuntary means. When you're having a wet dream, it's involuntary, you're not in control. When you're masturbating or having sex with someone, it's voluntary and you are in control. Now, scientifically, we don't know too much about wet dreams. We don't know too much about dreams in general. The scientific studies are interesting, but they're not adequate to give us a picture of what is going on. So I'm going to use the Islamic viewpoint for wet dreams, and I'm going to tell you guys about that. And I'm also going to tell you guys, inshallah, at the end of the video, how you can get wet dreams. And excuse me, and other religions have their take on wet dreams. I'm not going to delve into that too much because I don't know about them, but certainly other spiritual paths and other spiritual understandings of the human see wet dreams. Some see wet dreams as a negative thing that will get in the way of your spiritual development, and they have what's called sexual transmutation exercises and all of these other things, and that's usually Hindu paths and Buddhist paths. And these types of things also want the person to be completely celibate and then use that energy to go to the next level. And it's interesting, but I don't believe in it and I don't buy into it, because I think that if you try and hold in that sexual energy, you could hurt yourself very badly, right? That's a lot of energy. I mean, the drive to have sex, the drive to recreate is a very powerful drive, and to suppress that part of yourself, or to try exercises that, you know, try certain exercises that would stop you from having a wet dream, you know, that could come back and bite you, you know, really bad. So I don't want to get into that topic right now. So the Islamic point of view is that wet dreams are completely normal, and that they're good for you, and that they don't nullify if you're fasting, right? They don't nullify your fast. The only thing that would nullify your fast is if you do something voluntarily. But if you have a wet dream and you want to go pray, you'd have to wash yourself because you'd be in a state of junub. But other than that, it's fine. And as a matter of fact, a lot of heroes in the early Islamic period were known to have a lot of wet dreams. It wasn't a main point in the story, but it was definitely there in the story. So for example, Zubair ibn Awwam radiallahu anhu was one of the best fighters in the Islamic history. He was known that he could hold a sword in both hands equally well. So as good as he used the sword in his right hand, he was just as good with his left hand. And only him and Sidna Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu were that good. So obviously someone could fight with two hands, but those two guys were the ones who were the most famous for fighting equally well with both hands. So completely ambidextrous warriors. And he had a wet dream. I don't know the context of where he was, but it was either traveling with a friend or they were in a battlefield and they were camping out or whatever. So he tells his friend that, you know, I had a wet dream, cover me with a cloak or with a blanket, like hold it up as like a screen so that I can wash myself real quick. And the guy accidentally sees his body is full of scars, and after he's done washing and everything is done and they're talking later, he's like, hey, by the way, I accidentally saw you. and I saw that your body was full of scars. How did you get them? And the point of the story was his scars and how he got them. The point of the story was not the wet dream that Zubair ibn Awwam had, but it was in the story nonetheless. And then you have other stories where it was well known that such and such Sahabi would have wet dreams almost every single day, and this would usually happen when they were out because they were married in the city. So they were relieving the sexual. They were fulfilling the sexual desire or that need in that way. But then when they were out, they would have the wet dreams, and it's almost like they have so much energy and power that what's going to happen is that it has to spill over into a wet dream, because like I said, you could hurt yourself with so much energy or with so much tension, right? It's not good to have to keep it all in, and it's almost a product of our time, right? Like, obviously after a wet dream you're going to feel a little bit more relaxed, and because of the way society is training us to be, oh, you have to be a robot, you have to always be happy, you have to always be hardworking, you have to always be this, you have to always be that. And it's like, no, the human isn't like that. You have your ups and you have your downs. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're not as happy, sometimes you're feeling very energetic, other times you feel like, I just had a big meal, I need to rest and digest. And this up and down is normal. The body is balancing itself. Obviously I'm not saying that you shouldn't work hard, but the idea that you should be like a robot and that any type of feeling a little bit low is bad is incorrect, right? The body has catabolic phase, which is when it breaks down muscle and it creates more energy, and has an anabolic phase when it's digesting food and it's creating energy, and it's feeding the muscles and making them grow, and the hormones, they go up and the hormones go down and they balance themselves out. So this idea that wet dreams are bad, please try and get rid of that. I mean, it's only a natural extension of quitting pornography and masturbation, is that desire is still always going to be there. You can't get rid of it, as I said before. So the body still has to relieve itself in some way. And it's important also to note, I mean, I know I'm not answering the question the way a lot of you wanted to answer the question. You guys wanted to say, it's bad, how do I stop it? And I'm saying it's good, this is how you can get more. And how you can get more is, if you think about a girl, stop thinking about her. If you see a girl that's pretty, stop looking at her. If you're thinking about sex, stop thinking about sex. Don't let it linger in your mind at all. So stop thinking about it whatsoever. And what's going to happen is that, sorry guys, I had a pop-up notification on my phone. What's going to happen is that you have a desire. It doesn't go away. And if you suppress that, all of the channels that desire can manifest itself, and while you're awake, if you block all those channels by suppressing it, there's only one other channel for it to come back up in, and that's through a dream, right? Through a wet dream. And that's what's going to happen, or as a scientific term, nocturnal emissions. And that's what's going to happen. So you block off all of the channels, it's going to come back up in a wet dream. And this is something that I learned in psychology. This is something that other people have experienced. So in psychology, for example, one of the students of the doctor that I was a student of the doctor, and I trained in the psychiatric hospital under him, and he had more than 30 years of experience. He's an amazing man, wise man. He knew a lot about the human mind, and he had a lot of experience. And one of the students who was also a psychologist in training said that, I had a dream about my patient, and I told that patient such and such. And as he talked with her about it more, it turned out that she had something on her mind that she really wanted to tell her patient, and she had her heart was very attached, and she was very emotionally invested in seeing that patient be successful, but she didn't want to tell that patient a certain statement that came in her mind, and she suppressed that. And the doctor said, you suppressed that so much, you wanted to tell the patient that thing so much, that because you didn't say it in real life, you had a dream in which you saw the patient and you said it to them, and you said that to the patient in a dream as a way to relieve that tension that was building up. So it's not only for wet dreams, it's for other things. Now, I don't know, someone might say, well, hey, what about when someone's in love with a girl and they think about that girl all the time and then they have a dream about them? Why isn't it the same thing with the sexual urge, in that suppressing the sexual urge makes it come back up? Well, I'm not 100% sure on that answer. I don't know. Perhaps it's because you're thinking about that person all the time and you can't have them, right? So if you can't have the girl, you're going to dream about her because you're still suppressing that desire. You might be thinking about her all the time, but you can't have the girl, and because you can't have the girl, you dream about the girl, right? So it's still the same thing. The urge is not being fulfilled. The desire is not being expressed. The desire is being suppressed. So when you suppress it, it expresses itself in a dream, and that is one of the best ways that you can have a wet dream if you're not having enough. If you are having them and you don't like the fact that you're having low energy, don't worry about it. Inshallah, it's all good. This is just your body's way of balancing it out. Don't try and force something on yourself that don't try and force yourself to not have them, because you could hurt yourself. And also keep in mind, like, be aware. I'm sorry, this video is going over. I just have one more thought before I finish. Keep in mind of the guilt and the shame that someone feels, right? So if someone, and you can look on forums, case studies, and look at the guilt that someone feels when they watch pornography after they're done. The guilt that someone feels when they go and see a prostitute, for example. Even the guilt that a prostitute themselves will feel after the act and after they take the money. And I've read these things. I've read how they feel. And you see the case studies and they feel guilt and shame. And you can also think about, okay, if someone walks in on you and you were watching pornography and that person was like your little sister or your little cousin, would you not feel righteous shame? And if you didn't, and someone told you that story and they didn't feel righteous shame, wouldn't you think, man, this person, something's wrong with him? How could he not feel ashamed of himself after that situation, right? So, and you read about what happens when people have a wet dream. They don't feel shame, they feel relief, like, ah, finally it's gone. And that tells you something. Obviously, you know, I can't use subjective feelings as a proof that something is wrong or not, right? I'm just saying this as a by the way, think about this type of thing. The idea of how we know what's right and wrong is a completely different topic, and we're gonna have to get into the whole, like, the philosophy of ethics and, you know, where do ethics come from. I don't want to get, that's not the topic of this video. I'm just saying you think about it personally and look at it and see how do you feel after you have a wet dream, and compare that feeling with how do you feel after you watch pornography. And the two feelings that you have are not the same at all. Intention matters, okay? Keep that in mind. That's the last thing that I want to say. We can talk about that in another time. The importance of having good intentions. Okay, guys. So that was it. And the importance of good actions too. I don't want to be those hippies, oh, just have good intentions and don't do anything. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I meant intentions in terms of your deeds, in terms of your actions. You can do something by accident and that turned out to be good, but you know that that's not what you intended, right? Or you can intend to do something good and it works out, and it's different. It's a lot different. So guys, that's it, guys. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Peace out. Salamualaykum and Jum'ah Mubarak. Happy Friday. Salam.